Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third podcast on the Big Four, on the fashion weeks ranging from we did Milan. No, we're doing Milan.
Yeah,
we did New York.
New York and London, and now it's time for the oldest, not necessarily the oldest in, fashion weeks, but the oldest in terms of fashion houses and brands and their establishment, let's say. And so we're going to start with Milan Fashion Week, and then we're going to go for Paris.
Yeah.
So, to begin with, I guess, before we start getting into the fashion shows and everything that happened, let's start with what actually is Milan Fashion Week.
A little history.
Mm-hmm. So it was first established in 1958 with the creation of the Camera Sindicale della Moda Italiana, which then became Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana, and so I guess everything is still part of it now. The idea is to promote Italian fashion and its development, and so Italy, as we were saying in the podcast before, is really part of this duo in fashion history, that of Italy and France. They are the longest front runners in terms of fashion, in terms of just everything, techniques, pioneering designers.
And also, there's this difference when you look at Paris Fashion Week and Milan Fashion Week, and then you get to discover more of an affordable luxury when you're looking in Milan, which is pretty interesting. And also, another interesting thing that I found was that, of course, Milan is not a capital, but it's still a fashion week, which is a very interesting concept in itself.
Yes, and I do constantly think of that.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's very interesting. So there's a lot of things that go behind it, and a lot of very known images, designers that kind of lifted Milan up and made it the capital of fashion.
Interestingly, with Milan, actually, there's a lot of, because we talked about the Camera Nazionale of the Italian fashion, and there's still a lot of brands that are connected to it. However, there's specific brands that are not. Mainly, we have Dolce & Gabbana or Roberto Cavalli, and so it's interesting to see how certain brands break off from this, national, entity of fashion.
Yeah, and a lot of very distinguishable aspects about Milan and fashion and how it kind of stepped away from the Italian fashion, which is, for example, Missoni and the very unique textiles that we see in Milan Fashion Week, which is very interesting. And also that in 1961, it was the headquarters of Vogue Italia, which is another very powerful move from Milan and kind of establishing its reign on Italian fashion.
If we're going to talk about Vogue Italia, I won't be able to shut up. But anyway, so to move on from this historical bit and to go into the actual analysis of the shows, we have once again chosen 4 shows to analyze, like with our previous 2 podcasts, starting with, a really good one, then a bad or disappointing one, and then just, discussing certain things within other 2 fashion shows. And so I guess, it's always good to start with the good things in life. And so let's begin with actually Alessandro Michele's final, bow for Gucci.
I think this is the most talked about, was the most talked about fashion show, and it really broke a lot of...
In this fashion month?
I think since the Fashion Month Unleashed, this was the main topic on everyone's mouths.
I mean, rightfully
and it still
so.
Is, yeah.
It was...
Because it was groundbreaking for
pure
many
genius.
reasons. Yeah.
So for those who aren't aware of what was the genius behind this particular fashion show at Milan Fashion Week, so Alessandro Michele, who was the head, creator-in-chief of Gucci, who just left after the fashion month, which is, we're mourning that. We're mourning that still. He sent out a letter after the show explaining his choice, because the idea behind the show was that he had twins showing every look. So it was twins of any origins, any different look on the planet Earth, and everything just looked extraordinary. And the idea behind this was, as he explained, that he was raised by not one mother, but more mothers. I don't remember if he said 2 or 3, but it was his aunt.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, his mother and her sister.
Yeah, because
right?
they were twins.
Yes, exactly. And so that kind of inspired him to do this show, which honestly, as you said, groundbreaking.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Alessandro Michele was always very personal in what he did with designs. But as he said himself, this was one of his most, if not the most personal thing that he put out for the world. And I think
it's also
that's makes it powerful. Yeah,
even more touching that it was his last show that was the most personal. So let's go in. What were your opinions aside, the fact of the twins, of the actual clothes and everything that went into it?
I mean, I'm still a little bit stuck up on the twins idea, which for me is very, very interesting. And also the way the show was made, meaning that, you know, there was like a very big wall, and on each side of the wall there was each of the twins, and people thought they were watching one show, and then at the end the wall came down, and the
at
twins
the end
started,
of the runway, right? And they started joining together.
and they were holding hands, which is also such a very personal thing. And I don't know, for me that was a very interesting set design, but it still didn't stop him from bringing very beautiful pieces. The thing
with Gucci, and I think we saw it specifically in this show, not more than in any others, but it just, you know, combined with the twins and everything. The thing with Gucci really is not just the designs, but the styling that goes into all the outfits.
Exactly.
And so here, I guess this idea of styling was even more so. It wasn't only the clothes, it was the set, it was all the idea, it was all the thought that was put into it. It was the fact that the things that were projected on those walls that you talked about were the pictures of these twins. Absolutely everything. Yeah. And so this styling went above and beyond just, you know, accessories and layerings, and which anyway he's a genius of.
I have so much respect for designers that are like complete designers. When they have a fashion show, everything is thought of, and you can see the tiniest details. Everything was thought of by him, which in other fashion shows you don't see that as much. You know, it's usually, oh, let's focus on the background, let's focus on the clothes.
But you see, I know why you say that, because that came to my thought as well. But the difference is, because you're saying about Chanel, because we've said this before, that currently they focus way too much on the background. However, I wanted to say that didn't happen with Karl Lagerfeld, because Karl Lagerfeld was one of these geniuses for whom the stage itself was just as important as the clothes, but the clothes were in no way, like, he thought of everything. So Karl Lagerfeld, very differently than what Alessandro Michele was doing. It's not here to draw a parallel between their styles, but just in terms of thought put into everything, I think there you can draw a parallel. It's not currently the case with Chanel, but anyway,
and also the fact that nothing stole the attention, like no element stole the attention of the other, and they kind of like all blended together, and they were complemented really well.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like some insane background. It was this kind of pseudo-industrial floor with these black and white pictures behind, so it was just complementary, I guess, of a very relatively colorful fashion show. So shall we delve into outfit analysis?
Yeah, for sure.
So we have this first picture here, that of these beautiful blonde Scandinavian looking twins. And honestly, this outfit is amazing.
It is.
From just the animal print underneath the...
It's so subtle, and this combination of a really, really pale yellow and with this really soft blue, it complements so well. And for me, this is definition of elegance, but still with a kind of an ethereal kind of afterglow, which is very, very pretty.
And and as you were saying, it's very interesting because he chose, I mean, I don't know if this is the real color of the models anyway, but just how everything is mirrored within the outfit, like this specific hair color, it's not like, you know, the yellow almost going into white. It is yellow. It's actually yellow, and how that's mirrored in the bag, and then how you can see the layering of the animal print. The shoes, they're very beautiful.
And the makeup, which is...
It's also very Italian, if I dare say. Like the silhouette in itself is very, you know, the dropped waist, the flowy pants,
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
The accessories also, like the long earrings that kind of blend into the hair.
Exactly. And these kind of accessories, we see them on a day-to-day basis, and they're not usually put in the right context. And here you see pieces that might seem extravagant, that might seem too much, but then when he puts them in a styling, it looks completely in its place. Because
that's the point. Like, for instance, if any other designer would have done this and taken just a simple kind of transparent blue top with some kind of transparent blue pants and put maybe just high heels with it, it would be completely devoid of any meaning that it truly has in this design, because everything that's given to the actual main pieces of the outfit is through the styling, through how he combines them. So the second picture, should we go on?
Yes, the second picture, I must say that I'm a sucker for red and pink.
Oh, me too. And he added the leopard print, which I'm a sucker for as well. So
such a beautiful combination, and the materials look so rich, which is also something that I miss seeing. Good materials, good quality materials on the runway, so I must applaud.
But it's also so 80s in a sense, like these really pink kind of satin-esque overalls.
And the shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. The hair, everything. It like screams 80s, which is interesting because that's not the overall vibe of the show.
No, it's not.
But it's nice to have these like little drops of, nods to different decades, different styles and everything.
He must have dropped some hints that he was leaving. He was trying to go through everything. I still don't want to accept this fact.
I'm not.
Well.
I'm laughing through the tears. Yeah.
And the shoes. Oh my God.
Although I was gonna say, not that I am anyone, and it's not about criticizing, but for instance, because last time we talked about how mass, fashion houses like fast fashion, Zara, whatever, they tend to do things so fast to the point where you can't even differentiate what was done by the big houses and then what was done through these fast fashion houses. And like, I look at these sunglasses, for instance, right? And they're beautiful and they work perfectly with the outfit and the shoes that are happening. But I'm just looking and I'm just like, it almost takes a bit away of the richness for me when I know that this kind of dropped crystal is everywhere in Zara right now.
No, I get that. But for me, I feel like he is one of the only designers that could make something like this. Like these sunglasses look like very high fashion. So, because we saw other people trying to put accessories into a very runway concept and it didn't work. But for him, I feel like he really knows how to play with these details. But at the same time, I agree that some things become way overused, way overseen, and when you see them in
sadly, because like I said, this works perfectly here, and yet the first thing I thought of was, oh, I've seen that before, but not in a high fashion house.
And the hair is so nice. It's so elegant yet so effortless, and for me that's a very hard combination to achieve. So I must say
I completely agree. But everything, because we talked about the attention to detail, like I'm just looking now down to the nail color. The nails are these like teal blue in a metallic sense to go along with the metallic of the suit, the jumpsuit that they're wearing, or however you want to call it. It's just, it's all extraordinary.
Yes, it's a show of force.
For sure.
Who else could have done this?
I mean, and then this final look, which is not my favorite, but I like it because I chose this particular picture because it gives me as a vibe very old Italian fashion with a twist. So that's why I liked it very much and I wanted us to talk about it.
And the logo, which I love. I mean, for me personally, the rebranding of their logo, I don't love it as much. Like, for example, when you started seeing
before the previous logo.
Yeah. For me, I don't love it as much. For me, when I search like vintage Gucci pieces and I see like the old G's, for me that's the charm.
I know, but
what?
Because we've grown up in the same country.
Yeah. Okay.
That is Romania, folks, and
it is somewhere in Europe.
Yeah, but so the thing is, there was this phase, and you cannot deny it, where everybody was wearing the cheapest things from Gucci, but they had this huge old logo of theirs to the, in the logo mania phase, which we still have not escaped. Yeah. But to the point that I still sometimes when I look at that old logo, obviously when it comes to vintage pieces and stuff, it's completely different, but I have somehow of an aversion to it. Whereas when I look at this one, style-wise, I don't prefer it, but it just gives me, a little bit of a breath of fresh air compared to what I was used to, like the bad interpretation of that logo in like day-to-day style.
I feel like for me nowadays, I've kind of gained this superpower to like really filter when I see people wearing, designers in a bad way or like, all these like all the fast fashion trends. I kind of try to filter as much as I can, so like the charm of certain pieces is not lost, because it's so easy to get lost into how people are kind of weaponizing these like brands to look rich, which is of course that is sometimes the principle of the brands, that is their thing, but at the same time for me I'm trying really hard not to have this
I used to be able to. I've lost this power to
but it's totally understandable. It is understandable.
Yeah. But, aside from it, I do agree that style-wise, this logo is not the best, although it looks nice. But yeah, this is like an Italian take, the jacket, I would say, on like a French tailleur in a sense, but it's in a very Italian way. What do we think about the shoes?
I mean, for me, he has a free pass to do almost anything. And, of course, predictable way of doing it would definitely not have been. Are they Furbies?
I think so.
I think they're Furbies.
I think so.
Okay. I as a proud owner of 2 Furbies,
I only had one.
I'm not going to comment.
Maybe that's why I don't like them as much. I mean, no, I agree with what you're saying.
I mean, I don't care. The look is good.
Yeah.
Could it have been more classic and amazing? Yeah, but is it still amazing? Yeah. Is this the power and the charm of fucking Alessandro Michele? Yeah, it is.
But I want to ask a question though, because had this been done, let's say, had this been done at current Chanel with Virginie Viard? No, really.
Okay.
With the French tailleurs, and if she had done, the Chanel version of this kind of a white and black suit and everything, and she had put the Furby shoes, would we have said, more power to her, this works? Or is it just because it's Alessandro Michele at Gucci?
No, for sure. For sure. It's a very he can be as playful as he wants because he can do it. And I kind of I have this instilled trust in him that he's going to pull it off. But of course, if I would have seen this in another brand, I don't know.
But maybe it also works more with the image of Gucci than it does with that of Chanel.
Because it's more playful at the end of the day,
Chanel is more,
Yeah. Dusty sometimes, recently. And the bags, they're really nice.
I was going to say.
Love those, traditionally feminine touches that they, brands are trying to instill nowadays. And, it's starting to get more and more normalized, which I love.
Okay, now we're short on time today, guys, so we're going to have to speed through things. So now let's move to the bad or disappointing show of this particular fashion week. Yeah. Which for us was, drum roll, it was Versace.
I have a question for you. So, the Versace show, of course, 100% we think about purple. It was that very electric purple that
in the 2000s.
We've seen, in the
purple,
2000s.
Yellow, pink, green.
But I think the thing that struck the most was the purple, at least for me. Okay. And I wanted to ask you, do you think it's related to, fashion houses kind of trying to get their own color nowadays? For example, the Valentino pink, everywhere you look, even on TikTok, they're like, oh, today I'm going to be pink Valentino. And it's kind of
But I don't see it, because first of all, as a person who is more so into the history of fashion rather than what's currently going on, for me, Valentino will forever be red no matter what.
I mean, exactly.
And it should be red. It should not be pink, but we're not going to get into that. Whereas for Versace, the thing is, if you're really going to go into the DNA of the brand, it's not purple for me. It's black with a lot of safety pins, all the Gianni Versace BDSM dresses. That was very much into what the brand was in the 90s.
But when it comes when Versace comes to mind, it's more of a colorful gold than black for me, but I understand
gold,
that as well.
You see, because what Gianni did was mixing black and gold.
I mean,
it was a Versace way of doing the Schiaparelli black and gold kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And so when I think of it, I don't think of purple necessarily. Even when I think of Donatella's 2000s collections, there's a bunch of dresses that were even very popular in pop culture, Beyonce's Crazy in Love video, or the movie 13 going on 30, I think it was called, right? And so all of those dresses, in those movies or music videos, those have Versace dresses, and none of them are specifically purple. They're pink, they're green, they're yellow. Purple's not necessarily there. And while I do equate in some way Versace with purple, I don't know if I would, But this show was very pink and purple.
Yeah, but do you think it was influenced by what's going on right now? The emphasis on certain colors?
I don't know what's happening.
It's getting harder and harder to navigate the fashion world, but there we are. And, of course, Y2K, of course,
But
goth.
This was, once again, like with Tom Ford, right? Yeah. People forget how influential Versace with Donatella was in the 2000s, in the early 2000s. Yeah. And so, for you as a queen of the Y2K to go to this, I don't see it. I don't get it. Maybe some people like it. We're not judging. But for me, this show could have gone so much better than just the same iteration of a long or short dress of a goth bride.
Exactly. And it just seems, for me, it feels like it was seen before, everything that I see. And I'm not saying that they should, they should bring revolutionary stuff with their, each fashion show, but I'm just saying that kind of, I feel like brands again and their signature feel gets lost in the way of, you know, trends and what's currently happening right now. And it's just like, even if you go back to our, like, the other podcast that we have done, it's the same feeling of like this muddy situation where the trends and the houses and the struggle to be alive, you know, and it's just sad to see sometimes.
I mean,
we've seen worse, for sure.
That's undeniable, but it's just I just don't understand the designs, and especially because what Versace has done for the past collections, like I don't know if it was autumn winter 2022 or 2021 where she had done those red dresses with latex corsets and she first introduced the platforms, like that was some collection to do. And it wasn't necessarily typically Versace, and so to go from that to this, I don't understand it. Like, if we can go through the outfit analysis, it's like it's pleating with satin, but you know, it's crumpled
it's very
up
nightgowny kind of,
but it's not good. I don't like it.
And the veils, like, I don't know,
all I like is the shoes.
Yeah,
but or the fact that she brought back Paris Hilton, not because I like Paris Hilton, but because if you're gonna do Y2K, you're gonna do Paris Hilton. Like, it's not.
I didn't really like her look though, but it's
no,
I think it was one of the worst. But
yeah, although funnily enough, that's one of Versace's, you know, groundbreaking techniques, that the rhinestone with diamonds or stones, I don't know exactly what they are, those dresses, they're like the revolutionary technique that Versace brought, and to do it in such a bad way.
I know.
Yeah. What do you think of Bella's look?
I mean, you know, I'm always, whenever I see her, I'm thinking, is it Bella Hadid? Is it just Bella Hadid? And the fact that, you know,
but it's not good. Did you see the crowns? Did you see they're wearing crowns?
Yeah. They're so...
I hadn't seen this before.
Not there, but still there, but in a very annoying way.
But everything from the Hannah Montana gloves to... It's just not good.
I know.
And what do we think about Gigi? Oh, okay, wait. What do we think about this hood trend that seems more synonymous in the current season with YSL? But look, Versace did it, and there's a whole bunch of other brands that are doing it. I like it too. It's interesting.
I feel like it's a very sleek and elegant look, and then you see other celebrities wearing this kind of like YSL vintage like gowns with the cape and everything, and it brings a certain elegance back on the red carpet, which I've been missing.
But so why do you think that Donatella did it before YSL? Because her show actually was before that of YSL.
I don't.
My conjecture is that, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be revealing.
Okay.
No, it's just that fashion houses, they buy these big trend books, you know, for the, you know, this, I learned this from Maurice. They buy these big trend books for every season, and so they kind of all get along the line of the same trends, and so that's why it's possible that platforms came back at the same time with Versace and Valentino, that the hood came back at the same time with YSL.
And so they need to do that. So
it's interesting that it's not like I associate it now with YSL, but actually it was done before this thing. But yeah,
the shoes. Her shoes are so
Gigi's?
beautiful. Yeah. Oh, I love the shoes.
I mean, I said the one thing I like about this show is the shoes.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. And now let's go on to just discussing certain shows, not necessarily good, not necessarily bad, just discussions and opinions. And let's start with Diesel, because Diesel came back this fashion month. They came back.
Did.
So what do you think about it?
I think they saw an opportunity to create or like alternate a trend, and they took it, and it was, I mean, it worked kind of, you know, like the big logo that they kind of like pushed it out there. For me, it was a kind of a playful take on what is happening now, and for me, it's not the worst reinterpretation that I've seen. So for me, it's a pretty gray zone with Diesel, because sometimes sometimes it feels a little bit cheap, but at the same time, they've never branded themselves as a luxury brand.
Oh, absolutely not.
So at the same time, denim. Exactly. It's very honest to their brand. So
I was gonna say that I think that they really came in at the right time, because slowly we started seeing more denim done in a high fashion way. Like even Balenciaga at their last haute couture show, they had just denim looks. And so for them to come back and be able to kind of make another branding, not a new branding, but just to come back off of this trend, and then, you know, maximize off of everything they could, like for instance the mini skirts.
Who hasn't seen the Diesel mini skirt?
But it's interesting, we talked about this when we were discussing, you know, what to choose, how the mini skirt was brought back by Prada or Miu Miu, right? And so it was these dainty, cute mini skirts, and then the second time we see them, it's all of a sudden Diesel, which is not cute. It's just, you know, it's a belt, it's shocking, it's that kind of, so it's interesting how it did a full 180, I guess, on the trend.
Exactly. And as you said, very good timing.
For sure. And very Y2K once again. It's very in keeping with what's happening.
But I feel like in a kind of tasteful way, so it's not...
Yeah. What do you think of the middle look? I mean, the first one isn't... I don't like the first one either. But
I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but I must say that with this material...
The middle one?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've seen it in other shows and it looked much more cheaper. And for me, kind of maybe because it's like ruffled in a specific way, it doesn't look as bad, but
For me, it goes specifically bad with the jacket. Like the pants and the boots, somehow I would be... more okay with it than, not that I don't like the full look, it's just I feel like it makes it looks cheaper on the jacket than it does on the pants. I don't know why I have this impression.
Yeah, maybe because of the pockets in the front and the zipper.
Might be. But anyway, I don't particularly like, I mean, I understand the intention of it being like dripping in gold, and so the bag is gold, the hair of the model is very yellow, but it all looks washed out in a sense. I feel like it could have looked better. I don't know exactly how, but yeah, I think it could have been put in a better context.
Yeah, I get it.
And the first one is just, I don't...
Yeah, it and the ending, like the ending of the skirt.
But look at the lace on the corset part of the top. It's not nice. It's a bad iteration of denim. Yeah. I think.
I get it. Y2K, ugly, pretty combined, but this is just not it for me. Yeah. How do we feel about the boots or the whatever they... Yeah,
I was gonna say I can like the boots in a different context. I think they can really work, and I'm starting to get back into and appreciate more of this like really pointy 2000s boot. I mean, I've never really not liked it, but a bit more. No, I like it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I even can like the boots in the second look as well, because once again, it's the same thing but in a different material. And if it were combined with something else too, it could look rich and not cheaper, like you said. Yeah, a bit more. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and so finally, to move on, because we all have already mentioned Dolce & Gabbana as, you know, part of the brands that aren't part of the Camera della Moda Italiana or whatever. And interestingly enough, this Fashion Week, Dolce & Gabbana didn't do a new show. What they did is they chose to collaborate with Madame Kim Kardashian.
For sure not a publicity stunt.
Absolutely not.
It was,
Yes. And they chose to give her access to all their archives and choose any look she wanted to and bring them back. Yeah. And now, before we get into this, I want to first say that old Dolce & Gabbana, no matter what, is amazing.
Okay, yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Definitely.
And some of the looks that were chosen were amazing. Can we first talk about the concept itself of doing this with Madame Kardashian?
Yeah. I mean, for me, and probably for the whole world, it looks very much like a cry for help, which...
Oh, but it worked.
It worked. I know. Annoyingly, it worked. Of course it did. But, you know, it's so weird to me, because I remember, like, when I was, you know, scrolling on the internet a few years ago about, you know, fashion houses and what's going on with them, and then seeing, like, Stefano Gabbana trashing Kim Kardashian and saying...
Not her, the whole family.
Outrageous things about the whole family. Yeah. And then we see this. And for me, this is a part of the fashion world that, for me, you know, they want to do anything they can to survive.
But because the thing is that they really, Dolce & Gabbana, even though they had been putting out shows. They weren't as visible as they were in the 2000s and before. And so what they did is, as much as I don't like this PR stunt that they did it, is, didn't they like sponsor the entire wedding of Kourtney Kardashian? I think from what I know, she even had it in their house.
Yeah, I don't remember if they were involved like totally financially, but I know they were.
I don't know if financially, but the looks were all the looks were Dolce & Gabbana, new and vintage. And it was done at their house, once again, after Stefano Gabbana had trashed them publicly, like many other designers who now collaborate with them. And now they brought Kim Kardashian for this Dolce X Kim collaboration, where she chose looks, some characteristic of her, some not necessarily.
Usually black, diamonds, very out there. And even the commercials that they did before, you know, her hopping out of a jet, dripping in diamonds. It was very
But I chose 3 looks. One that's more vintage Dolce, another one that's more Kim Kardashian, and the third one, I don't know, I just like this one. But so let's start. What do you think of the first one?
It's,
once again, it's an archival look. It's not something new.
No, I like it. I feel like it's the good way of doing vintage, of getting out archives.
It's so good.
You know,
it's leopard print again. Oh.
You know, it's hard to hate when you see good looks on the runway, but then at the same time,
that's why I started with the concept, because we don't particularly like the concept, but as a show, it was
good,
very nice, because the archives in themselves are very very good.
Like, you can't go wrong with archives, especially if you're Dolce Gabbana.
So the first one, I think is more of a modern take on the archive, because I'm not sure exactly what look this was taken from, but now it's done as a jumpsuit, and I would imagine that the vintage Dolce Gabbana would have done like a pencil skirt kind of a vibe. So it's a bit modified, whereas the center, that's this one I said it's more Kim Kardashian, because it's this exaggerated body kind of figure. It's but I like it.
The metallic. The shoes, are they platform?
No, they're just simple pumps. I think. I don't. They're okay.
Oh, she looks so good.
And the last one, which I just love,
which is beautiful. I feel like they kind of took the public and were like, "Hey, remember us?"
They were like, "This is the best we've done."
Exactly.
Yeah. We're never gonna do it again.
And also, Kim Kardashian approves, so they really, really. This was their kind of not their last cry, but they, you know, desperate times, man. What can I say?
So yes, thank you guys for listening. I guess this was our Milan Fashion Week recap. And please tune in for our final podcast of this particular series,
Paris Fashion Week.
Yes, we're very excited.
We are.
See you guys.
So see you guys in the next podcast.